So good morning.
Good morning.
So we on behalf of Beyond Law CLC welcome you to the board. As everyone who is participant, they know that the topic what we have kept for you is Specific Relief Act. There was twofold intention. That Specific Relief Act is a act which has been amended recently, and it's a quite challenging act. And more specifically, the popular demand amongst all the participants was that Mr. Mahajan is known that his style of argument, style of placement deals in three aspects. He's very specific to his arguments. He gets the relief what he wants, and his act and actions are well known within the bar and the bench. But on this platform, we have lawyers, students from all pan India. They are students also. So we thought that how you create that Srishti and what is your drishti, we will also have a 5 minutes talk on that. So over to you, sir. We will not take much time of yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. In this period when everybody is confined indoors, Beyond Law CLC has made us busy. At least we should remain busy, so that by this series of seminars on different subjects, enlighten our members of the bar, students, and also to keep even senior lawyers busy with their subjects or with their work. Today's topic, which we have to discuss, is Specific Relief Act, particularly in the context of the latest amendments being made by the Parliament. Its intention of making its effect of making such large-scale amendments and its effect. The Specific Relief Act, as we know, is a procedural virtually act. It provides remedies, not the substantive rights of so the act in a simplified manner, if we see the scheme of the Specific Relief Act, we will find it is divided into three parts. The first part is simply its preliminaries and contains of section 1 to 4. Second part is with respect to grant what specific reliefs can be granted. That part contains, in fact, is divided into 6 different chapters, different reliefs which can be granted.
Slightly I'm bothering you, Pratik. Could you make the speaker on that side louder, or could you bring the speaker closer to Mr. Mahajan? Because I'm receiving the message. I'm receiving the messages that the audibility is less.
Audibility is less.
So you can try without the earphone. Yes, sir.
If we see the scheme of the Specific Relief Act, virtually it has been divided into 3 parts. First part deals with its preliminary part of it, which virtually we say the definition clause, where it is applicable, when from it is to be applicable. Second part is with respect to the specific reliefs which can be granted, and that is divided also separately into 6 chapters. The chapters are with the first relief with respect to the possession, then specific performance of contract, rectification of contract, decision of contract, cancellation of instruments, and declaratory relief. The third part deals with the injunctions only, preventive relief which can be granted under the Act. In fact, if we see the preliminary with respect to the Act, first part, it in fact came into this Act came into force from 1st of March 1964, though it was passed on 13th of December 1963. The section 1, 2 or subsection 2 says that it will come into force from which date the central government notifies. The notification was issued by the central government on 18th of January 1964, but making it applicable with effect from 1st of March 1964. And other portion with respect to section 2 is about the definition clause. Some definitions have been provided, but is the obligation, settlement, trust, trustees extra. But since the act is only with the providing remedies only, it is mentioned all other definition, all other words which are used in the contract act will be deemed to be part of it. The definition which are not specifically there, which is there in the contract act, that will be taken to be the definitions. Then section 3 say that this is not to deprive any person from other leave which he may is entitled to. These are some of the reasons summarized to be under the act to which a person will be entitled in the circumstances. But if he has other remedies or even the leave entitlement with respect under any other contract or any other law, he will be entitled to it. This act is, does not bar it. And fourth, in the preliminaries, it is mentioned that this specific relief act is to be granted for enforcing civil rights only, individual civil rights, not the penal rights. But penal rights separate provisions are there. So that is the preliminary part, one of the act, the scheme of the act, which has specified it. The second part, which is important and for which virtually is more important for all advocates, law students, which is relevant because the entire litigation mostly surrounds under this chapter part, which comes in the part 2 virtually. And virtually that defines what are the leaves we can get it in particular circumstances with respect to contractual rights extra, and how it can be get by which filing which suit, who is entitled to. All these things have been defined in this part of specific relief. Second part of the act contains different chapters. The first chapter is with respect to the leave of possession. That consists of section 5 to 8. Section 5 and section 6 provides how a person who is entitled to the leave of possession, he can file a suit. Section 5 says he can file a suit and the suit will be pursued as provided in the CPC, it will go on. And section 6 is that if a person is forcibly dispossessed without his consent or without due course of law, he is entitled to restoration of possession, and he can apply to the court for restoration of the possession, submitting a plaint saying that he has been dispossessed forcibly or without his consent, without following the due process of law. In that, mostly generally we call it a restoration of possession. A person who has been dispossessed forcibly from his premises, which was in his occupation, and from there he is being dispossessed without following the due procedure of law. So that restoration of possession relief is there. That is normally we call it as a summary suits. And that summary suits, in that summary suit, the person who is dispossessed and claiming restoration of possession is not required to show any title to the property. The suit is based only on his possession and dispossession. He is to show that he was in possession of the property and has been forcibly dispossessed without following the procedure prescribed by law. So that even if a person owner has dispossessed him, even against him, the restoration of possession can be granted. Though possession is required to prove that he was in settled possession, not as forcible possession, immediate possession, and then dispossession. But some conditions are there in it also. For such suit, you have to file it within a period of 6 months immediately, so that because you are claiming restoration of possession without setting up any title in the property or any right to possession specifically that I was entitled to continue or not entitled to continue. Only grievance is that I was in possession of the property but has been dispossessed without my consent, without following the procedure prescribed by law. The exception given is such a suit cannot be filed against the state government or any government. Virtually, it is an individual right against individual person. And it being a summary suit, summary procedure, no appeal lies against any other past with respect to restoration. Even no review application is maintainable. The person is entitled to file a regular suit if he is having any title in the property and is ordered to restore the possession. He say that he is the owner of the property or he was having other rights. If he claims any title in the property, for that he has to file separate regular suit, and in that the rights of the parties are to be decided. Since it being a summary proceeding, no appeal is maintainable, no review is there. There are judgments of the court that even virtually the no appeal will be there even against the interim orders being passed in these proceedings. And though remedy of revision is not barred under section 115 or under article 227, but there is a settled law that even in revisional jurisdiction where the civil court has passed order of restoration of possession in a suit under section 6, the High Court will not reappreciate the evidence to find out whether any person is having any title in the property, right in the property or not. It is only to see whether the order passed is in accordance with the law, the person was in possession and dispossessed without his consent. In recent amendments, this section is also amended. It's not of that much importance. Even earlier, the case law was there that if a person is dispossessed, not only that person, earlier that any person claiming to him was also entitled to file a suit. As in the case of a personal tenant in the property, some third person dispossessed him. The landlord was even entitled to, because the landlord was in legal possession of the property through the tenant. Even he was entitled to file a suit. No amendment made is not only with those two persons. Any person through whom the tenant is, any person through whom the person dispossessed is claiming to be in possession, he is also entitled to file such summary suit for restoration of possession. That is the amendment made. Though earlier, though the Supreme Court has made it clear in number of judgments, and the recent being in ITC case and Sadashiv Sharma's case in 2010 and 2012, that virtually the person, even the landlord or even any other person, through whom the person in possession was claiming to be in possession, was entitled to file a suit. As in a case, in fact, the recently in 2010, which was Sadashiv case in 2010, Supreme Court said, even if in a case that a co-owner of a property dispossessed a tenant and the landlord was entitled to file a suit, the person, the co-owner who has inducted him as a tenant, virtually he being in exclusive possession has inducted a tenant, and since the co-owner tried to take forcible possession, in order to take possession from the other co-owner, the Supreme Court said that person being, the tenant being in possession through a particular co-owner, he was entitled to continue. Even if the other co-owner wants to take a possession, he has to take possession in accordance with law. And even the landlord is entitled to get back the possession even from another co-owner who has dispossessed the tenant. Virtually, that is a section is of much importance. That is a remedy provided. As in old days, we have been hearing the people used to bring 10, 15 gundas and get the houses vacated extra. So it was a remedy provided against them, and now it is being effective remedy at the moment. And similarly, section 7 and 8 of this chapter virtually with respect to possession provides with respect to possession of movable property. If you are in possession of any property or then any other person takes possession, or any person is in possession of a movable property which you are entitled to possession, you are entitled to file a suit and get possession with respect to that. That is the remedy provided for taking possession, getting possession of movable property under section 7 and 8. This is the chapter 1 of the part 2 of the Specific Relief Act, which provides specific remedies virtually for getting the property. Second chapter is with respect to specific performance of contracts. That is the chapter 2 of part 2 of the Specific Relief Act. This is the most important part of the Specific Relief Act. Most of the litigation in court also, by my experience and normally by our experience, we find the litigation comes with respect to these rights, claiming specific performance of the contracts and lot of litigation. Section 9 of it consists of section 9 to 25. Section 9 says that all those defenses in such suits which are available to you to challenge a contract are available to you in a suit for specific performance as a defense. Suppose somebody files a suit for specific performance of a contract, all those the grounds on which you can say the contract is not valid, not binding, you are entitled to raise as the legal grounds provided under the contract as the ground the contract is not genuine, not legal, it's avoidable, wide. All those defenses can be raised in addition to the factual position grounds available under with respect to the factual position. That is Section 9 of the Act itself provides. Then now the amendment made in 2018 in the Specific Relief Act is mainly with respect to this portion of the Act, with respect to grant of specific performance. Earlier, the Specific Relief Act in all these cases with respect to grant of specific relief gives too much discretion to the courts to grant specific performance. Virtually, that was creating a problem with respect to the different projects, and all those. Taking those things into consideration virtually by these 2018 amendments, now the amendments has taken almost the entire discretions with the court. Once contract is there, it is enforceable in law. The person was ready and willing to perform. These are basic requirements. I will discuss it with you recently. But still the discussions were there earlier with the courts whether to grant or not to grant specific performance, grant some alternative relief or compensation or other relief or deny the specific performance or grant damages. All those discussions were with the court earlier. Now all those virtually by the amendment discretions have been taken. Lot of amendment is with respect to in 2018 is with respect to taking away the discretions with the court. That may be in Section 10 of the Act, which provided that earlier the court was to examine whether their damages cannot be given in the case. Discretion of the court was there. All those discretions have been now been taken. The words instead of the court may grant specific performance. Now everywhere the word used, the court shall grant. In many of the Section 10, Section 11, then in Section 16 also the words have been changed. Section 14 also has been changed. Section 21 also, where the relief of compensation extra substitute was there. There also it has been provided now that compensation can be granted in addition to, but earlier discretion that it can be in substitution of that has been taken. Total discretion is taken. We will be examining section wise of those provisions also. But the amendment is important with respect to these aspects with respect to grant of that. That was a Section 10 earlier provided that the court in which the specific performance of contract cases described in which specific performance can be granted, and it was in the discretion of the court to grant it. Now court says the specific performance in respect of the contract shall be enforced by the court. That is the now amendment made. Similarly, in Section 11, provided that the cases in which the specific performance is connected with the trust extra can be granted. There also the word may word has been changed to word shall. The court will, even if this contract is there on behalf of trust, except that is the exceptions are there that the trustee has executed the contract beyond his powers, or it is not within the scope of the trust need to enter into such contract. In all other cases, now that if the valid contract is proved, the court has to grant specific performance. Earlier words in section was that the court may grant with respect to the trust properties extra, and trust extra is enforceable against them. So similarly, with respect to the provisions in section 9, 10 and section 11 also, were the cases where in which the specific performance of the contract connected with granting, then the important parts come in section 12 of it. Whether the specific performance of the contract can be granted in part, view is that this is the virtually, in fact, too much important section and too technical a provision, which normally is too difficult to understand for a common man, and even at the initial phase for the young liar also. They face a lot of difficulty in which case part performance is permissible, in which case part performance is not permissible. The section 12 starts, it has 4 subsections. Subsection 1 of itself of this itself said the specific code will not grant specific performance with respect to a part of a contract except in the circumstances which are defined in this very section itself. Actually, it is limited that in some which cases the specific performance the court may grant. It's two important sections with respect to grant of specific performance with respect to a part of the contract. Section 2, subsection 2 of it says that is the first condition where the circumstances where the specific performance can be granted by a court with respect to part of the contract. That condition says that if the part which is remains unperformed, if the parties who have entered into contract is not able to perform and the major portion can be performed, in that case the powers are there with the court to grant and the rights is given to both the parties. Suppose there is apply for grant of specific performance of that contract and the court is entitled to grant it virtually. Just take as the case, there is a contract for sale of 100 bighas of land and ultimately when it's tried and it is actually the sale deed extra is to be executed is found that
Sir, just hold on. Nobody should post the messages on the screen. It disturbs the entire process. Don't post anything like that. Thank you. Right, sir.
Suppose as a case, by giving you the example, there is a contract for sale of 100 bighas of land. Ultimately, when rights mature, the sale is to be executed. It is found that the person who has entered into agreement, he was only owner of 90, or he can execute a sale deed only with respect to 90. Can now he is not in a position to execute sale deed with respect to the 10 bighas of land. Can the court grant it? It says that it is enforceable because the part which is left unperformed, it will be left unperformed is only a minor part, and major part can be virtually complied with, and the contract with respect to that is enforceable. So in that case, both the parties, either of the parties can say that specific performance should be permitted, and court should grant specific performance in a case to both the parties. And it is only condition is that the part which remains unfulfilled is only a minor part, and that also admits with respect to the compensation can be there with, and the compensation as in the case of 100 bighas of land, 90 can be only sold. That he will be entitled to, the vendor will be entitled to only the sale price of 90 bighas, and 10 bighas virtually the court will compensate for the 10 bighas which he is not in a position to sell it, for which he is not able to perform his part of the contract. And but subsection 3 is too technical. This is normally also a generally, as a gentleman, we know if of the contract with respect to a major portion can be performed, parties are entitled to get it performed. But subsection 3 of section 12 says, if the part which remains that unperformed is a considerable part of the whole, and though admitting virtually the compensation in money, and or it is a case where their compensation cannot be determined. In that case, in fact, the person who is at fault, the party at default is not entitled to get that contract enforceable. He has no right. But the other person, the party who is not at their fault, he may press that he is prepared to get even the minor part enforced. And in that case, the court is entitled to, in the case where only the minor part and the rest of the part admits to compensation, the court will grant him proportionate price, virtually the proportionate consideration, and can order with respect to the specific performance with respect to even a minor portion at the instance of the person who has suffered it virtually. Earlier, in fact, this is a change brought in the 1963 Specific Relief Act. What was earlier position before 1963 Act, the Specific Relief Act, when earlier there was Specific Relief Act of 1877. That provided that in that case also you have to pay the into full sale amount consideration, as in the case of the agreement to sell. If you want that even minor portion specific performance should be granted, so you have to pay full consideration. But now this subsection 3 has been amended. It's a proportionate amount he is entitled to get it only. And he, on payment of proportionate amount, he is entitled to get the even minor part of the contract imposed to the court against the party who is at default. But the other condition which is provided is that where the compensation is not determinable, the portion which remains is not determinable with respect to a minor part. In that case, the law still is that if the person wants that even specific performance should be granted, though the remaining part of it cannot be determined by how much compensation is to be payable for that portion. In that case, the person, if he prepared to pay the full amount of consideration, then he can still claim from the court that specific performance even for the part which party at default is in a position to perform, that should be ordered to be performed and degree should be granted. In that case, the court can grant that decree because compensation is not determinable. As in the case of 100 bighas of land, the person is entitled to execute a sale deed only with respect to 50 bighas or 40 bighas only. 60 he is not in a position. The minor portion which is enforceable, but the land is not of the same quality everywhere. The land, it may be, some land may be nary, some may be banjar, some may be of other qualities, and it cannot be determined because he has agreed to sell it at a uniform rate, the entire land. No, the land which will be left, it cannot be determined. It is not determinable what price exact would have been. So in that case, he has to say that he will pay the full price, but specific performance even with the 240 bighas should be granted to him. But that is circumscribed in the act itself, in these provisions itself. In both these cases where the person accepts it with compensation and proportionate price, the minor portion enforcement or minor portion without on full payment because compensation for remaining is not determinable. In both cases, condition is that the person has to give up his rights for claiming any compensation with respect to the portion which will remain undetermined, unenforceable. He cannot claim, he has to make a agreement that he will not claim virtually any compensation with respect to that, and he give up his right with respect to that. Both are the things he has to plead and prove virtually, and there will be no in fact reduction in compensation in such case. That is the condition provided in case of part performance with respect to major and minor portion. Major as section 2 deal with, subsection 2 deal with it, that the court will grant on reduced price if compensation determinable. With respect to minor parts, if it will be enforced, the conditions or minor part will be enforced. If for remaining part, compensation can be determined, it will be on proportionate price. And if the compensation cannot be determined on full price, but both the cases, he will give up his right with respect to the remaining portion which remains unenforced, and also say that he will not be entitled to any compensation for that portion subsequently. That is with respect to part performance. There is another aspect also which is dealt with in subsection 4 of section 12 with respect to grant of part performance. Suppose the agreement is with respect to two portions differently placed, or difference means as in the case of a cement and in the case of a bricks also. It is enforceable only with respect to one and not enforceable with respect to other. Person is in a position to supply me the sand, but is not in a position to supply me the bricks. As and anything can be there where it can be separate and independent contract can be there. In that case, the portion which can be enforced, that is enforceable in law, the court can grant enforcement to the person who is claiming that the part should be performed. That is the subsection 4 of it. This is a crucial section, lot of litigation. This is a technical provision also. I have tried to explain it in that simple words as possible as it can be from that. So that is the important part of part performance. with respect to grantor specific performance of a contract. Then virtually section 13, 14, 15 deals with the different aspects of grantor specific performance, as there can be a case where a person is having no title to a property and still entered into a contract. As is having only imperfect title. In that case, section 13 deals with that in which circumstances, whether it is enforceable, not enforceable. Say the person is having no title, but subsequently if he finds that the person obtains title, the person who has entered into contract acquires any title into the property, then the contract will be enforceable against him, because though at the time of entering into the contract he was not having title, but subsequently has acquired it, and that is enforceable under the law. And there can be other circumstances that if he is to virtually he has entered into contract, but his contract requires concurrence of other person, as a plot is allotted to me by a improvement trust or by other agency, and for selling it further, virtually the concurrence of that department will be required because he has to obtain, and so there is no bar in that he cannot further transfer it. But there may be conditions in it that he has to first get conveyance deed in his favor, make full payment, get no certificate from them, and only then in a position to sell it. There is no absolute bar, he cannot further alienate it. But there is a bar that he cannot alienate the property till he has got conveyance deed from that department or paid full price with no charges pending against him. In that circumstances,
So I would seek a pardon. Prateek, could you, everybody is putting on the chat box, could you increase the loudspeaker speed or at your end, or could you bring Mr. Mahajan slightly closer to the mic?
oh, hello.
So my apologies, time and again I am interrupting you in the midst of the affairs, but at the same time on the chat box I'm hearing, I'm receiving the messages that the audibility is this.
No,
And for your convenience, one of your officer, Apurv Garg, has posted the relevant sections on the group, so it becomes convenient for the other people.
oh, okay.
Your action is well appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Now it's audible.
Yeah, okay. So that is the condition in cases where imperfect title or no title is there. I was explaining it as first in a case where subsequently we acquire title. In that case, in fact, it is enforceable. Second condition can be there that concurrence of some other third person is required, as I have given the example that in case where concurrence of other department, as in the case of Huda Improvement Trust or other, they have allotted the property, the person allotee is entitled to further alienate it, but that contains a condition that it cannot be further alienated till he gets conveyance in his favor, or he pays the full price, or he gets NOC that no due is pending against him. In that case, but the person entered into contract but subsequently is not doing it. In that case, you can claim specific performance by pleading that person also as a party, and can force the person who has entered into contract that he should get virtually perform his part of the contract, get those NOC extra and pay the amount extra, they can pray to the court even the conveyance deed should be executed in his favor, and he should further be directed to execute the conveyance in my favor. So in that case also virtually can be there. And another condition can be there, he has entered into a contract that property is unencumbered, but subsequently it is found that is mortgage or is having some encumbrance, etc. And that, but it is found that that encumbrance is not more than the amount of consideration which is payable as in the alienation. In that case also virtually the court can direct that the contract should be performed, mortgage amount or other amount, any encumbrance amount being less than the sale consideration, it can be deducted. Court can direct that portion should be paid to the person who is entitled to, and the contract should be enforced. That can be another condition in there. Similarly, it is also provided, this is applicable in case of both movable and immovable property. Class D in it says that if suit for specific performance dismissed for title want of title of the defendant, right to return deposit with interest is there with him. That is class D, or that a person has entered into contract subsequently for is not in a position to perform his part of the contract. So that will not debar the person who has entered into contract to get back the amount which he has paid, deposit made by him. It may be a lease contract for lease, or may be a contract for sale extra. That is. And second, this applies both to movable and immovable properties extra. And another important aspect of this is section 14. Earlier, and major amendments have been made in it now by 2018 amendment. Earlier, in fact, it provided that the contracts which are specifically enforceable. No, earlier a contract, the non-performance of which compensation is not an adequate relief. That was the condition provided. The court will examine once contract is proved whether the compensation, if non-performance there is not adequate relief grant. Now the court, it has been changed now. Subsection 1 clause A of say that where the party has obtained only substituted contract, that is now introduced by way of amendment under section 20. I will be explaining it when we will discuss. Except in that case, the person is now entitled to get the contract performed once he's approved. Discretion of the court had to see whether compensation will be adequate relief or not, whether it should be substituted by instead of granting specific performance, it should be granted only the compensation. That discretion has been not taken away. That is the important amendment made in section 14 in class A. And virtually 2 or 3 other conditions are there where only the court can decline despite proving it, as in case class B of it says that it requires continuous duty which cannot be supervised by the court. In that case only the court can say that court cannot grant specific performance, or it is dependent upon personal qualification of a person, virtually the performance of the contract, as in the case of private services extra, depending upon my qualification extra. So in that case it may not be enforceable, and class C gives discretion, or the nature of the contract is such that it is determinable. Only in those cases the court can decline to perform. Otherwise the court shall grant performance. That is a major change made in section 14. Discretion of the court that agreement is proved, the contract is proved, but to examine it whether the relief of specific performance should be granted or compensation should be granted, that discretion has been not taken. And only if a person chooses to have the performance of a contract proved, then the relief shall be granted. That is the provision made, except in case where instead of the same contract, substituted contract is got enforced by the person by power under section 20 of that. That is the major amendment made in section. That is virtually, that's what I initially was telling. In a case of these 2000 amendment, most of the discretionary power of the court in the case of specific performance, in case of contractual matters, have taken away. That is one of the amendment earlier was in section 10, section 11. And that is also the same position in section 14. The discretion of the court has been taken away. That is now another section 14A is added. That is also an important provision. Now the court can engage any expert in a case for specific performance. The court thinks that some expert should be appointed in a case, in case it requires some scientific investigation, some other investigation. So all those powers are there under the ordinary provision of the Civil Procedure Court also to appoint any expert in the matter. But it is in addition to the court has given, not withstanding anything in that. Additionally, court in a specific performance suit have been given power to appoint any expert, engage any expert, and provisions have been made that his report will be part of the record. It will be treated to be proved virtually. Though the powers have been given, discretion has been given, the person is entitled to summon the expert for in the court and can cross-examine extra and can judge the veracity of his report given by him. But in the absence of if in the absence of that, virtually the report given by the expert is part of the record of the court, and court can rely upon that report and grant any relief or decline any relief on that basis. That is the major amendment virtually being made in these specific relief act for grant of specific performance of the contracts. That is also important amendment made by 2018 amendment. Similarly, in section 15 provides with respect to who are the person entitled to the relief of specific performance, and that party is always entitled to, their representatives are entitled, beneficiary entitled, reversioners extra. That is explained in section 15. The amendment made may now in section 50 a provision has been added, subsection class FA. It is now limited liability partnerships. The principle is being introduced because earlier when this specific performance act was passed, quickly there was not limited liability partnership. It was not a legal entity by that time. Now it, since a subsequent change in law has made this limited liability partnership also an entity, they are entitled to enter into any agreement extra, get any agreement in force. So the provision have been added that suppose a case in limited liability partnership firm has entered into a contract and subsequent entities amalgamated into another limited liability partnership firm. The person that firm is entitled to enforce the contract. They are also entitled to get. Similarly, the provision subsequently added that it is contract can be enforced against that firm also, limited liability, with which that limited liability firm LLP has been amalgamated. So though virtually it is enforceable by them also under section 15, and then under section 19 will say that even against them that LLP also the contract will be enforceable. That's the section 15 describes it. And then section 16 is the person provides about the personal bars under which in which cases the relief can be declined by the court. Now section 16 has also been amended. Now first clause A has now been changed, and that is the same because substituted performance provision has been added under section 20. It is provided that if a person gets substituted performance under section 20, then he will not be entitled to get specific performance. Earlier it was that who would not be entitled to remove, in fact, recover the compensation. That was the provision that has now been changed. Similarly, it has been class C. Earlier, a crucial part of the litigation in suit for specific performance was that you have to plead and prove that the person who is claiming specific performance, he was always ready and he has performed his part of the ready and willing to perform his part of the contract. He was not only to aver it, he was to prove it. And virtually lot of litigation was there where the person does have proved it even before the court that he was always ready, but he has not made specific averments with respect to that in the suit. He was not entitled to relief, though the earlier the courts were used to grant amendment of these parts of the pleading. But now it is that has been amended and said that you are only to prove it, that you have performed your part of the contract, or you are ready and you are still ready and willing always to perform your part of the contract. Pleading portion has been taken away. It's mentioned that you are not to prove it virtually. Before, if you have not proved it, then it is a personal bar to you. You will not be entitled to get relief from the court in a suit for specific performance. The crucial amendment is, still my advice will be that we must plead and prove. Both things should be there, because we normally see that normally the evidence are based on the pleadings in the case, and earlier the law was that no part of the pleading can be no part of the evidence can be looked into, which is not part of the pleading, and this was the specific requirement of the pleading under section 16 earlier. Though no, the averment is not necessary, but still because it is the sections still say that you have to prove it, we must ever in the pleadings itself that we were ready and still ready and willing to perform part of the contract. That is crucial amendment also in the end. It has will cut short the lot of litigation with respect to performance. Then section 17 of it deals only the contract to sell or contract to lease by one who has no title and not specifically enforceable extra. That is not. And section 18 also non-enforcement except with variations extra that court can grant it where variation if court thinks that is the not of importance. Then section 19 comes relief against parties and the person can be granted that describes the person against whom it is all those person who are a party or their representative or after the agreement if somebody has subsequently entered into agreement to sell extra. In all those cases the relief can be granted by the court against those person. The amendment being made in this section is also with respect to LLP, the limited liability partnership firms, that against them it is enforceable. If they are amalgamated into another LLP, the contract will be enforceable against them also. And this is the person against whom the contract normally is enforceable. Then section now 20 comes virtually. That is substituted performance of the contract. Now is provided. That is the now introduced by way of amendment in 2018. That provides that in a case where virtually a contract is disobeyed, the person who is entitled to a specific performance of it can give notice and that claim substituted performance that if he will not perform, he will through his own agency or through some third agency, he will get this substituted contract performed. He will have the option of it legally is made permissible to him, and but a notice is required to be given. It is only in case if the agreement itself divorced that he cannot have this option of getting performance through the third party. In the case of a divorce, he may not be entitled to, but in all other cases where the agreement is silent, he is not entitled to get a substituted performance. He can gaze the performance to a third person and claim also the cost of that person's entered in which who is performing the third person. He will be entitled to it. Notice is required to be given. That is the now introduced section that in fact, and in case you are getting it through substituted performance, you personally then have given notice. Then as earlier amendments I was that then he personally become debarred. The substituted contract is there. That person is, you can get it performed through. You are entitled to virtually all the benefit, all the cost by getting it performance to substituted contracts. As earlier we used to see in case of government contracts, there was a provision that if you will not perform your part of the contract, the government is to get that performed through a third agency at your risk and cost. Certain provisions were there in the normally in the government contracts virtually or the government agency contracts that you are not performing your part of the contract at your risk and cost. The performance is being got done through another agency. That work will be got done, completed, and it will be all your cost. Now this statutory provision virtually has been added to take care of such situation that you are entitled to get it performed through substituted contract through another agency or through your own agency and claim all the, in fact, the risk and cost. Earlier word used to be all the cost which is happen by getting it performed through the third agency. That is important amendment now made in itself. The other part virtually the important provision which is added is section 20A, 20B and 20C. That is with respect to the infrastructure project. That is a major portion of the amendment. That's why the 2000 Amendment Act was introduced virtually, because earlier what used to be there, in many of the cases which the infrastructure project used to be stopped by using, in fact, getting interim stays from different courts, or by using many of the NGOs funded by foreign contracts extra, they used to get the infrastructure project stayed extra, and that when the present government has come into power in 2014, the ease of ranking in the ease of doing business, the government or the in fact our country India was not even first among the hundreds. So a lot of amendments were made to in fact gain good ranking in this rank of ease of doing business. For that purpose, a lot of amendments were made in fact in that. At that time, we are aware commercial courts were established, Arbitration Act was amended, GST was introduced. Similarly, with respect to the infrastructure project to take care of that, these provisions in the Specific Relief Act has been also been introduced, and this is provided in section 20 that virtually the 20A as is added with respect to infrastructure projects that provides that in case of infrastructure projects, special provisions were introduced that no court, no civil court will grant any injunction virtually in a suit, while no injunction shall be granted involving any contract to or relating to an infrastructure project specified in the schedule. A schedule has been added where the project has been specified to be of infrastructure projects, and in those cases, in fact, virtually no injunction will be granted by any court virtually, and the similar provisions have been incorporated in section 41 of the Specific Relief Act also, which provides that in which cases the specific performance will, the court injunction will not be granted. There also a provision has been added, that is class HA, which in which also say that in case of infrastructure projects, no interim injunction will be granted, no injunction will be granted by the court. Similarly, subsection 2 and 3 of it says that the central government may amend the schedule which has been incorporated at any stage. Such amendments will be enforceable, but will be as usual will be required to be placed before both houses of parliament that ratification required. So that is the major amendment made to take, in fact, take this obstacles in the way of infrastructure projects. It not only it is provision is that no infrastructure, no injunction is to be granted in case of these infrastructure projects, but section 20B also embeds special courts have been constituted. It provides 20B says that the state governments, in consultation with the Chief Justice of the High Court, will designate by notification some courts as special court which will decide these cases with respect to infrastructure projects. And further, section 20C has been added, which provide these suits are required to be decided expeditiously. It had been made date bound. Such suits are required to be now decided within a period of 20 months and from the date of service of the summons on the defendant. This period is extendable by 6 months only. So the provision has been added, such suits are required to be decided with respect to all these infrastructure projects within a period of 1 year, which can be extended only up to by 6 months up to 1.5 years. So these are the special provisions added in it, by the amendment. This is the major amendment which was made virtually to take care of such projects, infrastructure projects by Special Relief Act to gain at the international level. So the other provision are with respect to 21, 22 of these portion, that power to award compensation in certain cases. Earlier, section 21 provided that in addition to or in substitution, the court can grant compensation in a case for specific performance. Now their discretion has been taken away. The words in substitution is deleted. We say only in addition to performance the court may grant it, but not in substitution of it. So the basic provision in it, which is to be taken care of by the young lawyer, is that especially provide that no such compensation will be granted unless it is specifically claimed in the plaint. It's there that if it is not claimed, it can be claimed by way of amendment also. The court should liberally at any stage of proceeding can allow the amendment, but unless it is specifically claimed by way of plea, it cannot be granted by the court. Similar is the power under section 22 to grant relief for possession, partition, refund of first money, extra, in addition to specific performance or refund in case it is court found that specific performance cannot be granted. These are the provision in that. With respect to grant of specific performance, section 20 liquidated damages is not a bar, as some of the agreements say that if I will not perform, the vendor will not perform his part of the contract, he will pay the double the earnest money extra. Though the section 23 specifically make a bar, a provision that this is no bar to claim specific performance, simply because if contract say that if I will not perform, the vendor say I will not perform, I will be liable to pay double amount of damages. So he is entitled to that, is a defense can be raised. But statute specifically say that this can be only by way of a penalty enforced. It will not bar to claim the main relief unless the contract specifically say that the double the amount payable and contract will not be enforceable. Position may be different. It is only that I say that if I will not perform, double the amount will be not bar if you choose to claim specific performance despite that damages being provided in the contract itself. And section 24 is bars of suit for compensation for breach. If the suit is dismissed for specific performance, then you cannot file subsequently suit for compensation. That has to be to itself only as an alternative relief. That is the major portion with respect to grant of specific performance. That is the part virtually in the chapter 2 of this part 2 of the specific performance act deals with it. Rest of the chapter I will in fact summarize it in a short manner because of the paucity of time. Virtually chapter 3 of this part 2 is with respect to rectification of instruments. That in a case suppose there through fraud or some mutual understanding, the agreement which has come into existence is not what the parties wanted to, which is express, it does not express the real intention of the parties, then in that case you can apply under section 26, file a suit for rectification on the instrument that the court can grant it with respect to. It has required to be pleaded in such cases that it is either by way of proved or by mutual, in fact, because of the mutual mistake of the parties. Similarly, another part chapter deals with the decision of the contract. That suppose court can apply in a case that where the contract is voidable or terminable, you can apply to the court for decision of the contract, or you can claim that the part of it should be rescinded and the rest being legal, or in a legal, in fact, modified form, the implementation or enforcement should be granted. That the court has power under section 27, 28, and 29 and 30 deals with these aspects of the case. Then provision is there also. Another chapter is provided with respect to cancellation of instruments. That also in cases where it is void or voidable, and it can tomorrow before even enforcement can play, you are come to know that can play virtually problem for you. Subsequently, you are entitled to apply to the court that it should be cancelled. In that case, even if it is a registered contract, you can, in that case, the court is required and court find that it is liable to be cancelled. The court will send copy of the degree to the registration officer to make with respect to it, can also be with respect partially granted. But in such cases where the contract is being cancelled, you have to restore the benefit which you have taken from the other party, required to be in fact restored. Once it's cancelled, that it is cancelled, but the benefit will remain. Another part is important part is chapter 6 with respect to grant of declaratory degrees by the court, section 34 and 35 of that. In case you are entitled to any declaration of any status or right, you are entitled to file a suit for declaration of claiming your title in the property. the court can grant a decree of declaration with respect to your status or with respect to your right. Only thing provided is that if you are entitled to additional leave, you must claim that also. If that is not being claimed consequential by you, the court can also grant you such declaration as you are not in possession of a property. You are claiming declaration that you are owner of the property, and you want declaration. The court should grant you not being in possession or in a position to get possession also from the person, and you have to claim that relief of consequential of possession also in that suit. If you are not claiming, the court can give the relief from the grant mere suit for declaration is not claimable because other consequential leave was available to you, but you have not claimed it. That is also a lot of litigation. And section 35 says that such declarations are binding only on the parties or their representative. You cannot claim a declaration. You cannot claim a declaration against B and then claim that declaration and use that declaration against C. It may be a piece of evidence, but it's not binding on C. It's only binding between A and B or their representative. It will be binding. The A is a representative, B is a representative party to the proceedings. That is the part two, crucial part of the Specific Relief Act. And the third part is only with respect to grant of injunctions. The injunction, section 36 and 37 are generally provides that there are two types of injunction, that is temporary and perpetual injunctions. Then one chapter of it with respect to perpetual injunctions, another chapter with respect to mandatory injunctions, and you are entitled to claim such injunction from the court even before the breach. But suppose you see you have entered into an agreement to sell with a person and sale is to be executed after 1 year. You come to know after a month that person is not trying to sell the property further to another person. You are entitled to claim an injunction that should be restrained because there is a valid agreement in your favor and it's time to breach that agreement. Such preventive relief can be granted by the court. Court can say that there will be a valid agreement and further sell the property. Many, this is one of the example. But preventive relief can also be granted by the court. If this is temporary, then it is during the pendency of the proceeding. It is a virtually perpetual final when court, after hearing both the parties, grant. Similarly, to compel the performance of a certain acts which a person is bound to do under an act or under a law, mandatory injunction can also be granted by the court in directing to perform his duty which is bound under the law to perform. Damages can also be granted by the court in lieu of the performance of specific this injunction or in addition to also under section 40. Section 41 provides conditions under which the injunction the court not grant. Those are the specified conditions under section 41. Now, recent amendment is only with respect to infrastructure projects. Also, no injunction will be granted by the court. Earlier, it was judicial proceeding. Restrain such injunction cannot be granted. Asking a person he should not need judicial proceeding. Similarly, some of the conditions are there under which the injunction can be declined by the court. So the court can also grant negative injunction not to do something under section 42 of the Act. Virtually, these are the provisions of the. In summary, with respect to specific performance, a schedule is also added to it by the 2018 amendment, which provides which infrastructure projects. That is also an important part added to it. Power is given under section 20B, 20A to the Parliament to the central government to amend this schedule. All these schedules are with respect to transport, energy matters, water, sanitation, communication, social and commercial infrastructure projects, etc. These are, in summary, the provisions of the Specific Relief Act, virtually in the nutshell, which we find it. And lot of litigations are there. Some provisions are technical, but this is an important act. Though it is provides only remedial measures, remedies provided, but substantive rights are also dependent upon in fact the provision of the Specific Relief Act. It's an important act which is everybody as a counsel, as a law student is required to go through, have it, while drafting the pleading exercise to take care of these things while filing any proceeding before any court of law. Thank you very much.
So, thank you on behalf of Beyond Law team as well as the participants. Once you were speaking, we were just mesmerized. We didn't even realize that we have gone beyond the time schedule. But be that as it may, everybody was happy. There couldn't be a much better bird eye view of the entire gamut of affairs. Though at the first instance, when you were speaking, at the back of my mind, we were thinking that we would ask you to summarize 2-3 lines in a short Hindi word so that few friends of ours could also understand who have weak speaking skills in the English like us. So we will just have something. What are the major changes in the specific relief act? Just 3-4 lines in Hindi, sir. Meanwhile, I will go through the questions and I will put it back. आपकी तरफ से हिंदी में क्या ये स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट में क्या-क्या नए चेंजेस आए हैं फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ द पीपल?
देखो, जो अमेंडमेंट स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट में 2018 में आए हैं, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. वो जो ब्रीफली पहले तो अमेंडमेंट जो आए हैं उसको समझने के लिए अमेंडमेंट ये क्यों आए हैं वो भी समझना बहुत जरूरी है. कहते भी जैसे फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट वगैरह की हम बात करते हैं, अभी कंट्री में होनी चाहिए, आनी चाहिए फॉरेन एक्स्ट्रा, लेकिन वो सारी डिपेंड करती है ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस कि आपके कंट्री में किसी ने कोई बिजनेस करना है वो कितना सरल है, वहाँ के कानून कैसे है, डिस्प्यूट पड़ने पर कितनी जल्दी उसका फैसला हो सकता है, कोर्ट के थ्रू कैसे इन्फोर्स हो सकती हैं. ये ऑल जी डिफिकल्टी कोई भी फॉरेनर जो है किसी दूसरे कंट्री में जब जाता है इन्वेस्टमेंट के पर्पज से वो ये सारी चीजें एग्जामिन करता है. तो उसके लेवल पे जो वर्ल्ड लेवल है उसके लेवल पे ये हर एक देश का एक रैंकिंग बनी होती है कि वहाँ ईज ऑफ डूइंग कितना इजी है काम करना. वहाँ पे ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस की जो रैंक्स जो स्टेटस थे उसको देख के इन्वेस्टमेंट का फैसला इन्वेस्टर्स करते थे. हमारे कंट्री की पोजीशन ये थी कि हम पहले ऊपर 100 जो कंट्रीज है उनमें भी नहीं आते थे ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में, हमारा रैंक 100 में भी नहीं आता था. इसलिए वो ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस भी ये उसका ये माना जाता था कि यहाँ के लॉ कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, कोर्टों के थ्रू प्रॉपरली रिलीफ नहीं मिल पाएगा, प्रॉपर टाइम पे नहीं मिल पाएगा, कोई प्रोजेक्ट शुरू करना है तो प्रॉपर टाइम पे हो नहीं पाएगा. प्रॉपर टाइम पे ना शुरू होने का मतलब है अभी उसकी कॉस्ट प्रोजेक्ट्स की कितनी ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगी. तो 100 करोड़ का प्रोजेक्ट 100 एक साल में करना है, यदि वो एक साल में नहीं होता उसकी जगह वो 2 साल 3 साल 4 साल में करना पड़ेगा, 100 करोड़ की जगह वो आप 200-400 करोड़ में पड़ेगा. तो इन्वेस्टर ये सारी चीजें देखते थे. तो इन सब चीजों पे ध्यान में रख के 2018 में अमेंडमेंट करी गई थी. वो कई चीजों में अमेंडमेंट करी गई, जैसे मैंने बताया भी स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट एक थी उनमें से. जैसे भी उस समय ये आया भी कमर्शियल कोर्ट्स एस्टेब्लिश कर दी जाए, कमर्शियल कोर्ट्स में जल्दी डिसीजन होंगे. इसी तरह आर्बिट्रेशन एक्ट में भी हमने देखा 2015-16 में अमेंडमेंट कर दी उन्होंने, लार्ज स्केल अमेंडमेंट्स आ गई, जीएसटी इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिया. तो इसलिए लेकिन इस सब के बावजूद ये आ रहा था कि जितने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल प्रोजेक्ट से रिलेटेड कोर्ट में लिटिगेशन होती थी उनमें डिफरेंट तरह की लिटिगेशन, कभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट, कभी हाई कोर्ट, कभी सिविल कोर्टों में आ जाती थी कि ये इन्वायरमेंट से वायलेशन है जी इनका प्रोजेक्ट, पोल्यूशन से वायलेशन है इनका प्रोजेक्ट. सो ये चीजों को ध्यान में रखते हुए ये था भी कोर्टें स्टे हो जाते थे, वो प्रोजेक्ट नहीं चल पाते थे. तो अमेंडमेंट स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट में जो करने का पर्पज था तो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट ये था भी ऐसे कोई भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स जो है उनके बारे में यदि कोई लिटिगेशन आती है तो वो लिटिगेशन कोर्टों में सालों भर एक तो पेंडिंग नहीं रहनी चाहिए, एक वो कोर्टों में जाके प्रोजेक्ट रुकने नहीं चाहिए थे. तो इस 2 एस्पेक्ट्स को ध्यान में रखकर स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट में 2018 में जो लार्ज स्केल अमेंडमेंट्स करी गई थी तो वो 2 एस्पेक्ट्स को रख के करी गई थी. उनमें एक एस्पेक्ट तो था जो एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोविजंस है स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट में, ये होता था कि प्रोविजन ये थी भी डिस्क्रिशनरी रिलीफ इसको मानते थे. सेटल कोर्टों में हम ये कहते थे जी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट प्रूव कर दिया, एग्रीमेंट भी प्रूव कर दिया, रेडीनेस भी विलिंग प्रूव कर दिया, लेकिन रिलीफ ग्रांट करना है कि नहीं करना ये कोर्ट की डिस्क्रिशन थी. ट्रायल कोर्ट ने मना कर दिया, आप ऊपर वाली कोर्टें नहीं दे सकती, डिस्क्रिशन एक्सरसाइज करनी है कोर्ट ने, या हाई कोर्ट एक्सरसाइज करे, एपलेट कोर्ट डिस्क्रिशन एक्सरसाइज करे, भी स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस नहीं ग्रांट होनी चाहिए, डैमेज दे दो जी इसको, ये कर दो. इन चीजों को खत्म करने के लिए इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपने किया है तो इट विल बी इन्फोर्सेबल. ये 2 चीजों को ध्यान में, उसको भी एग्रीमेंट जो एक बार आपने कर लिया है वो इन्फोर्सेबल होगा, कोर्टों में जाके नहीं रुकेगा. इस मेन पर्पज से सारी अमेंडमेंट थी उसमें एक तो कोर्ट्स की डिस्क्रिशन जो थी वो सारी कोर्ट ऑलमोस्ट खत्म कर दी गई। भी वंस एक बार कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, प्रूव हो गया है, आपके पार्ट पे जो करना था, रेडीनेस विलिंगनेस जो पार्ट आपने परफॉर्म करना था तो वो आपने किया हुआ है, तो देन स्पेसिफिक कोर्ट जो है वो डिस्क्रिशन कोई नहीं यूज कर सकती, वो ग्रांट करेगी स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस। उसके लिए उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट सेक्शन 10 में कर दी। वहां होता था भी कोर्ट पहले कंपनसेशन देख ले, मे ग्रांट, मे वाले वर्ड को शेल। इसी तरह सेक्शन 11 में ट्रस्ट के किसी के खिलाफ कोई है स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस, वहां भी ये वर्ड था भी कोर्ट मे ग्रांट स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस, मे को शेल में कन्वर्ट कर दिया। इसी तरह सेक्शन 14 है, उसमें सेक्शन 14 में भी सिमिलर अमेंडमेंट कर दी गई, भी सिर्फ एक पर्टिकुलर केसेस को छोड़ के, जहां पे आप 20 में है ये कोई डिस्क्रिशन यूज नहीं होगी, भी कंपनसेशन रेमेडी है कि नहीं है, कोर्ट ग्रांट करेगी, परफॉर्मेंस ग्रांट करेगी। इसी तरह टेक्निकल ग्राउंड पे परफॉर्मेंस कोर्ट मना कर देती थी, आपने ये लिखा नहीं कि आई वाज रेडी एंड विलिंग, प्लीडिंग नहीं है इसकी, तो इसलिए आपको स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ग्रांट नहीं करेंगे। कोर्ट अमेंडमेंट ने भी एक बार आपने प्रूव कर दिया कि मैं तो अपना पार्ट परफॉर्म करने के लिए तैयार था, लेकिन ये लिखा नहीं गया तो वकील को की गलती, काउंसिल की मिस्टेक है, टेक्निकल है, इस ग्राउंड पे मेरे को स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस अब नहीं मना कर सकते, ये भी उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट से खत्म कर दिया। अभी एक बार आपने प्रूव कर दिया स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस विल बी ग्रांटेड, मतलब कोई प्लीडिंग कोई जरूरी नहीं है, लिखना कोई जरूरी नहीं है। इसी तरह सेक्शन 20 में डिस्क्रिशन उन्होंने खत्म कर दी, एक्सेप्ट इन केस भी सब्स्टिट्यूटेड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आप स्टेट वे करवा लेते हैं, परफॉर्मेंस करवा लेते हैं, एक्सेप्ट इन दोज केसेस। सेक्शन 20 में जो था भी डिस्क्रिशन की स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ग्रांट हो ना हो, वो सारी डिस्क्रिशन खत्म कर दी, उन्होंने कह दिया भी स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस विल बी ग्रांटेड, मतलब। इसी तरह सेक्शन 21 में अमेंडमेंट कर दी, भी कोर्ट जो है वो कंपनसेशन ग्रांट कर सकती थी इन सब्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ, वो भी खत्म करके उन्होंने कहा दिया कंपनसेशन इन एडिशन तो ग्रांट कर सकती है, सब्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं ग्रांट कर सकती। मेन तो ये डिस्क्रिशन खत्म करनी थी, और दूसरा जो अमेंडमेंट करी वो क्रूशल, वो ये थे भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए स्पेशल कोर्ट्स होंगी, उनके केस में कोई इंजंक्शन नहीं ग्रांट होगा, वो सूट जो है विद इन स्पेसिफाइड टाइम 1 साल के अंदर डिसाइड होंगे, जो पीरियड 1.5 साल से ज्यादा जो एक्सटेंड नहीं किया जा सकता, मैक्सिमम 1.5 साल तक है। ये दो, एक तो डिस्क्रिशन खत्म करना इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट था, दूसरा कोर्ट स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस के जो सूट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स के है उसको इमीडिएटली डिस्पोजल करना, कोई स्टे नहीं, और फाइनल डिसीजन भी विद इन 1 ईयर करना है। ये दो मेजर एस्पेक्ट है जो 1.5 साल से ज्यादा है उसके। ये इन कट शॉर्ट इन समरी मतलब जो मेन, लेकिन ये बहुत क्रूशल, इससे सारे एक्ट का जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है वो ही चेंज हो गया है। सारा डिस्क्रिशनरी एक्ट जो हम पढ़ते थे, सारी प्लीडिंग कोर्ट में लागू करते थे, वो वर्चुअली इस अमेंडमेंट ने खत्म कर दिया। अब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मोर इन्फोर्सेबल हो गया है, उनकी महत्वता बढ़ गई है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की, और इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे भी नेचुरली लोग जो है वो ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में बहुत आगे ये चले गए हैं। स्पेशल कोर्ट भी कोई भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट का फैसला, कोई झगड़ा पड़ता भी है तो साल में फैसला हो जाएगा। तो इन सब चीजों को देखते हुए मतलब ये है अब ये इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट्स अमेंडमेंट।
So now we will be taking the questions which have been posted on the board. But before that, I would say that the government is doing ease of business, but the ease with which you have made us understand, that is commendable. We never thought that the Specific Relief Act, which is mind-boggling for a lawyer, could have been made understood in the mind of the lawyers so easily by this thing. So on behalf of Beyond Law CLC, first of all, our appreciation to the fact. So is it audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So on behalf of Beyond CLC, the manner and the ease with which you have made us understand, it makes us show why you have been the Advocate General, because the ease of doing business and the ease of making us understand couldn't have been in a better way. So now we take to the questions.
Yes.
So Mr. Rajanjit Jora says, whether the amendment in the Act 2018, whether amendment 2018 to section 10 providing for mandatory relief of enforcement of contract and taking away the discretion of the courts would apply retrospectively or prospectively?
देखो इसमें ये अंडरस्टैंड करना भी एक्ट क्या है। नॉर्मली स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट को हम सब्सटेंटिव राइट्स का एक्ट नहीं मानते, इसे प्रोसीजरल एक्चुअली इट प्रोवाइड ऑन ए प्रोसीजर, क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमारा क्या है, वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट से गवर्नड है। सब्सटेंटिव एक्ट वो है, सब्सटेंटिव लॉ वो है, इसलिए प्रोसीजर प्रोविजन है। किसी भी पेंडिंग सूट में जब तक डिग्री नहीं हुई, all procedural amendments are virtually taken to be applicable to all the proceeding. So इसके बारे में ये अभी procedural provision होने के नाते it will apply to all the pending suits before the courts where degree is yet to be passed. There can be a little difference of opinion whether it will apply to a appeals pending before the courts. So it can be, but with respect to suits which are pending, it is a retrospective. It will apply to all the pending suits which are still pending, and the court is yet to decide the matter. There is a one or two judgment also recently. One Allahabad High Court had decided the matter, where also the similar view has been taken that it being a procedural provision, it will apply to all pending suits, pending proceedings, because degree is yet to be passed by the court, that will be taken into consideration.
Thank you, sir. Gurjeet Singh. SDM recommends an FIR against a person under section 443 IPC on the pretext that he has carried out an investigation and it is found that the possessor is in illegal possession of the immovable property. B. If yes, does he have the power to decide the ownership?
Although in fact, virtually, yes, specific relief act will not deal with that matter, because section 4 of it specially says this will apply only to civil rights, not to the penal provisions. If a criminal case is being launched as criminal proceeding or CRPC proceedings are being initiated, those are to be governed by those. So what is the SDM's power virtually to decide those proceedings? It is civil court will be civil rights. So that in fact, specifically effect don't take care of the criminal proceedings. CRPC to govern it. Specifically effect also virtually will govern the proceeding before the civil court, whether relief is to be granted or not to be granted. So there virtually it will what is the within the power of specific SDM, that is required to be taken into consideration whether he will decide the dispute or not decide the dispute, under which provisions of law he has initiated the proceeding, what is the scope of those proceedings. Those are required to be taken into consideration.
Avdesh Kaushik. Readiness and willingness should be proved on the date when the contract became unenforceable or on the date of suit.
Both virtually, on the day when it is enforceable and also on the date of suit. That is the basic requirement. Earlier it thought that I was ready and willing. Ready and still ready and willing. Those are the requirement. Those are still the requirement. Earlier you were required under section 16 of the specific relief act, you were required to plead and prove, ever and prove, both on the date when the contract was to be performed, I was ready and willing, and still on the date of filing of the suit. That is the in fact a case law also, that you have to prove it on both the dates when the performance was to be made and even on the date. And even in that specific government was required to be made that you are still ready and willing to perform your part of the contract. That is the requirement of section 16, both on the date when performance was to be made and even on the date of filing of the suit. And in fact, because now discretion has been taken away, earlier in fact it was the discretion of the court, you were required to prove it, that you were throughout have been ready and willing even during the pendency of the suit to perform your part of the contract, but the other party was not performing. As in a suit is filed for specific performance of a contract, the person defendant was at fault at one time or the plaintiff was at fault at one day. During the pendency of the proceeding, he said that I am ready to perform my part of the contract. Let him say execute the sale deed. And he say I am not entitled to, then relief of specific performance cannot be granted. So readiness and willingness has to be on the date the contract was to be performance, on the date of filing of the suit, and also throughout proceedings at least till the decision of the suit.
Thank you, sir. So for Prateek is just sitting along with you. Though the questions are being posted on the chat box, I will be reading for you. I will just sometimes, if there is any confusion, I can tell
Yes,
what is the time of that question, so that it will be facilitated for you also.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So 12.
Question was there.
What is the difference between a rescission of contract and a cancellation of contract?
Yes.
So difference between a rescission of contract and cancellation of contract.
In cancellation, you cannot claim enforcement of that. In a rescission, suppose you are claiming a part of it should be rescinded, or it is totally lawful. In that case, virtually you are still entitled to get that modified contract enforced through the court. That is what the section itself provides it in case of the CN. But in case of cancellation of the contract, you have to say even before the enforcement date comes, you are entitled to say that the contract should be cancelled. Rescinded, that it should be modified virtually also. And in modified form, it should be also performed. That is the difference being, in fact. In both the cases, virtually it is provided that it's a viable contract. That is the one of the grounds being given in both under both the section to claim the CN or cancellation of it. Cancellation of it. It's a viable contract. That is what the section 31 says, and also the section 27 says that is viable contract or terminable contract. Virtually. That is the difference between that section 27 and 31 says. It is in case it is a wide contract, it has to be cancelled. But it is only a voidable contract that section 27 says. In that case, you are terminable contract. In that case, you can get it rescinded, modified, or totally get it declared rescinded in that.
Rajiv Joshi. Is a suit for declaration by one co-owner maintainable without claiming the relief of partition by metes and bounds, although joint possession may have been prayed for?
Maybe if you are filing a suit against a third person, any co-owner is entitled to file a suit, even without pleading the other co-owner as a party. But if you are filing a suit against a co-owner, against other co-owners, you are entitled to claim a declaration simply of your title in the property. Partition can be claimed in a suit. You don't want any partition of the property, but there is a threat to your title, to your share in the property. You are entitled to claim a declaration against a co-owner that you are owner of such and such portion of the property, have a share in the property. In case of co-owners, it's permissible. In case against third party, any co-owner is entitled to file a suit. That is virtually the law.
Section 34 in the last line says, this question is posed by Avdesh Kaushik. In last line says, person need not seek further relief, but proviso says that any further relief you may be entitled to, you must claim. Is this not contrary?
No, further relief, you are not, as I have given example, in a case of a co-owners virtually. You can claim I wanted to be a co-owner of the property, still I am not in possession even, but all co-owners are deemed to be in possession. I can simply claim I don't want separate possession of the property. I want only to be a co-owner of the property. So that declaration is court is entitled to. But in the case virtually you are claiming declaration against a third person, you are not in possession of the property. Then in that case, virtually you are entitled to, you have to claim it. If you are not claiming it, that relief is available to you, then the suit will not, simple suit for declaration may not be maintainable.
Anurag Jain. Can decree of specific performance of title and performance can be rescinded when decree holder deposited the decretal amount after the stipulated time, and then JD files an application for rescinding the contract on account of delay? Since the question is long, Prateek, you can show it to sir. That is a 12-7 by Anurag Jain.
Okay, that depends upon virtually is relating to the interpretation of section 28 of the Specific Relief Act, where the power specifically has been given to the court for CN of decrees in certain circumstances. So if the decree says that while granting a degree for specific performance, it is mentioned that you are to pay the balance amount of sale consideration within a period of 2 months. In case you fail to do it, the suit will be deemed to be dismissed, and you are not depositing the amount within a period of 2 months. Then virtually that is the conditional degree, and virtually the degree goes. Suppose in a case that there is a simply say that you will pay the balance amount of sale consideration within a period of 2 months, but further it is not a conditional, nothing is mentioned subsequently. Then you have deposited it. You are still entitled to apply to the court for extension of time. The court has the power to extend the time at any time, unless the JD comes to the court and claims that degree should be rescinded as the court finds it equitable to rescind it. In that case, the court can grant it. But if He has deposited the amount, shown his bona fide 1 day delay or little delay. Court is always entitled to extend that power has been given to the court unless in case of a conditional decree. If the decree says that he will not pay deposited within specified time, suit will be deemed to be dismissed. In that case, the court is not having power to extend that time. So it will depend upon that. If it is a delay, is simply there, nothing, degree does not say anything. He has to apply to the degree may not be executable automatically because he has not complied with the condition. But he is entitled to claim extension of time. The court can extend the time despite the fact that JD has made an application subsequently because he has already complied with the condition. If he is complying with after the JD has applied for rescinding the degree because of non-deposit of the amount, and subsequently he makes an application that now I should be granted extension of time, and the court can rescind it because he has not deposited it, not applied to the court for extension of time. Even and JD has now come to the court and he is entitled to get that degree rescinded because readiness and willingness is a basic thing which you are required to prove it. No, even after the amendment, you have to prove that you were ready and willing and still ready and willing to perform your part of the contract. Even if you, after the degree, you are not performing your part of the contract, then the court is entitled to rescind that degree, saying that you are not entitled even to the degree, and since you have failed to perform your part of the contract, degree is being rescinded. That is the conditional or unconditional degree part. Being applied for extension or not applied for extension, all these things are required to be taken. It will depend upon the facts and circumstances.
Thank you. So the way and the ease with which you have elucidated the entire gamut of questions is wonderful. Though questions are just pouring in, but we will just take two questions.
Yeah.
Though we do not allow the person to take the question of its own. But since Ravinder Singh Randhawa being the former secretary of the bar,
Yeah.
I will ask him to take the question directly. Then we have a senior advocate, Puneet Jindal, who also wants to ask a question
Yes,
directly.
right,
The
right.
fact that Mr. Puneet Jindal wants to ask a question on this platform shows
Yes,
your
right.
enriched knowledge that everybody is wanting to grab during this lockdown. First
Right.
to Mr. Ravinder Randhawa.
Welcome, welcome.
Ravinder, over to you.
Sir,
Yeah, welcome.
it's been a wonderful experience getting knowledge from you. My question is
Yes.
whether full and final payment agreement to sell requires compulsory registration under the Registration Act before seeking decree of specific performance.
Full and final.
Full and final payment agreement to
Yes.
sell requires compulsory registration under the Registration Act before seeking decree of specific performance.
So far as degree of specific performance is there, registration is not a compulsory. Section 49 of the Registration Act says that even in a case where the agreement to sell is required, compulsory registration, but it is not registered. It can be used for a creditor purpose or in a suit for specific performance for claiming degree of specific performance. Now, in fact, with respect to whether an agreement to sell require registration or not require registration, there is amendment now in the Registration Act virtually, and even in the Transfer of Property Act also with respect to. Now, in any case where agreement to sell is accompanied by delivery of possession, it will require compulsory registration because
Possession is
possession, and even Stamp Act is changed. Stamp Act says that 90% of the amount of stamp duty you are required to pay it at the time of agreement to sell, which is adjustable at the time of virtually executing of conveyance fee. Similarly, Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act has been amended, which provides if you want to claim part per benefit of part performance of an agreement to sell and claim that you were in possession of the property in part performance of agreement to sell, it is required to be registered. It cannot be used even for that purpose. Similarly, in fact, the amendments are there in the Registration Act, virtually Section 17(1)(a) has been added. In all those cases where agreement is accompanied by delivery of possession, it is required registration. Earlier, no agreement to sell with respect is required compulsory registration. It was optional if anybody wanted to. Normally, we have seen it. Many of the agreements sell, even the law was, even oral agreement to sell is enforceable in law.
Yes.
Only thing is that condition, but on which basis the parties has agreed should be clear. what is the amount for which the consideration amount which for which the agreement is there, which is the particular specified property for which agreement is there, and virtually within how much period the agreement was to be complied with. If all these three conditions are there, not by way of an agreement from in other oral communication or from other communication from which it can be a certain, these conditions can be a certain, agreement was enforceable in law, specific performance court was entitled to grant it. But even now, after it has been made that an agreement to sell accompanied by delivery of possession now requires specific registration. It is required to be registered, otherwise it's not a valid document. But it's not a valid document for the purpose of Stamp Act. It may not be valid document for the purpose of Registration Act. May not be valid for the purpose of Transfer of Property Act. But so far as virtually is specific performance of that such agreement, that is enforceable, it can be used as a document in proceeding for specific performance under proviso for collateral purpose under section 49 of the Registration Act law. Earlier a view after this amendment was made, a single bench of our court has taken a view that unregistered agreement cannot be seen in this proceeding where it is accompanied by delivery of possession for specific performance also. But subsequently matter was referred to the division bench. The division bench has clarified that now the number of judgments have already come that even in a case of documents which are relating to immovable property accompanied by delivery of possession, it may not be relevant for other purpose, but in a suit for specific performance of the contract, the document can be seen, it is enforceable section 49 under section 49 for as it being used as a collateral purpose for specific ground.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Over to our elder brother Puneet Jindal, who is an established name in the
Yes,
civil
yes,
side.
yes. I have also been done.
Sir, good morning. Good morning,
sir. Good morning.
It's a really wonderful to hear you, and especially on this important aspect of the amendment in the Specific Relief Act, which most of our colleagues were not aware of in depth about the benefits of this amendment. Now, my question is, in fact, I have got two issues, two questions. One is in a part you have already answered. The question is that this new amendment came into force with effect from 1st of August 2018. Now, this is to be seen if an agreement is executed much prior thereto,
Yes, yes.
whether this amended provision would be applicable or not.
So, as there are earlier judgments, we are aware that provision of specific relief act are procedural in nature. It only provides the remedies. Procedure, it don't create any substantive rights. So procedural, if there is any amendment, as in amendments in the civil procedure code, lot of amendments were made, and those were made applicable unless where it was not to be made applicable were specified in those amendment act. Otherwise, those were applicable to all the pending proceedings also. It also being only a procedural provisions virtually. It provides remedies only, procedure to be followed to get your right in force. So it will apply to all the pending suits. There is already in fact one or two decisions, one by the Allahabad High Court and other by the Calcutta High Court in 2019. There they say it being a procedural provision, it will apply to all the pending suits. There in fact originally I was also in fact dealing with the matter where I wanted to raise a point that it will apply to the appeals also, because appeal being continuation of the suit only. So, but that matter is pending, it is not yet adjudicated. Ultimately, what the courts take a view, there is no such law. But with respect to whether it will apply to pending suits or suit which are yet to be filed based on the earlier agreements, that the Calcutta and the Allahabad High Court has taken a view. There is no further appeal. I found it from the in fact website extra. So they have held that it being a procedural provision, and their sole basis is also the earlier case law, that procedural provisions are applicable to all the pending cases also. And in civil cases, as we have seen it in the when the amendment was made to Preemption Act, then no decree will be passed. And originally view was taken that even all those appellate courts where appeals are pending will have dismissed the suits extra. Subsequently view was taken where the matter has been decided by the trial court, a decree has been passed. That decree cannot be taken away by this amendment, because no decree will be passed mean where the matter is still pending before the court, or it was taken as in a case where the suit is dismissed by the trial court and appeal is pending, in which case decree is yet to be passed by the court. In those cases, the amendment will apply and no decree will be passed. It being, but similarly in these amendments being virtually providing procedure only. No injunction will be granted virtually with respect to infrastructure projects. Even if a suit is pending, still we are entitled to say no, the petition stand amended. No court will grant an injunction with respect to infrastructure projects with respect to by a civil court. It's a procedure only. The contract may remains to be same, but it's a project relating to an infrastructure project. So even other amendments, only the discretion has been taken. Contract was earlier there. The court was given a discretion whether to grant decree for specific performance or grant alternative relief. No, it has been taken away now.
Can we seek vacation of interim injunction already granted in an infrastructure project on the ground that now amendment has come into force?
In a pending suit, we can always say it, because it is a procedural provision only, and these procedure has to be taken care of now. It is binding on the courts virtually. If a suit is pending, we can make an application to the court that no, the act has been amended. Specifically, the parliament has provided it now that there should be no injunction with respect to any infrastructure project. So it is delaying the project, because project is an infrastructure project. Its execution is being delayed. So the court can always be brought to the notice that no intention of the parliament that no infrastructure project should be delayed. So it will apply to all pending suits according to my view also. There can be a little difference of opinion whether it will apply to the appeals where the rights of the parties are already crystallized by passing decrees by the trial court. So, but it will apply to all the pending suits. That's my view.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
The manner in which you have answered with ease and sublime manner. It is as if a cricket player playing and he makes a shot. The ease of watching is itself a pleasure to the eyes. So, and as we had discussed before, we asked you to explain as to how one can become a good advocate. The journey from a general advocate to the advocate general. What are the differences? We will ask you. But before that, I will ask Prateek, who has been at the backbone, just to come in front. We would like to thank on behalf of Beyond CLC his entire inputs, the man behind the show. Prateek has shown to us that what we say, behind every successful man there is a woman, but we can always also have a boy, the son, who can show that behind the success of somebody you can also have a son. He has shown us that child is the father of the man. Prateek, thank you on behalf of Beyond CLC. One word from you. What spirit we are always taking Mr. Mahajan. We see him as a benchmark that we have to look upon him. What do you see him as a father, as a son? Just 2 lines about him.
Thank you first of all for your kind words. I think आपने कल ये चीज मुझे कही थी बातों बातों में कि इनसे हम हैं, हमसे ये नहीं है. So that is what I would say, that he is the one who has been always inspiring us and guiding us. And two things which I've learned from him, I would say that one thing in personal life is patience, because patience is something which takes you forward everywhere in your relationships, in your social status and everything else. And second thing, professionally, I have seen that there's of course no substitute for hard work. That even if you may not be very well versed, he has come from very struggling times and he may not be very strong in his English or so on, but when it comes to knowledge of law, he reads so much and he's constantly picking up new journals and trying to gain on his knowledge, and so he makes sure that nobody can beat him with his knowledge. So I think that is the lesson that we all young lawyers can learn, that if we expand our knowledge so much, we'll always be very confident when we'll be standing on the dais before the judge, and we'll be able to speak whatever we want to say with extreme confidence and put across our case well. So that is all I would like to say.
Thank you, Prateek. So Prateek sums up that you have to have 3 P's: patience, perseverance, and Prateek. That Prateek will be the good signs for success. Sir, the journey from a general advocate to the advocate general, in your own words, how we can make a good mark. Thank you, sir. Within 5 minutes, a wrap-up talk from you, then a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Vishal. In fact, journey as an advocate to advocate general, I will only say that.
So, general advocate to advocate general, I'm saying. I am more specific.
Thank you. Thank you. The only thing is, in fact, that we have to be determined if we want to do. When I started my practice virtually, I was looking into the bar. In fact, there were two big guns, Shri Hiralal Sibbal and Shri Jagannath Kaushal. In fact, in most of the important cases, they were the counsel either against each other, or one of them was the counsel in one case and other was counsel. And that was irrespective of the nature of cases that I have seen. Even in a criminal appeal, they were appearing. Even in the income tax matter, they were appearing. Even in other cases, civil cases, they are appearing. So that's why I have seen it, such persons working, and they were the virtually at that time the pillars of the bar also. So I wanted that I should be one day advocate like them. That was my goal of life. Virtually, I belongs to, as I have seen, I am the first timer in my family as an advocate, not having much knowledge, much acquaintance, etc. But as you were putting a question that I should explain in Hindi, that was the hesitation I was feeling when I started my practice. I was doing my law and graduation extra side by side as a part-time. So I was also hesitant whether what I am speaking, the sentence I am speaking is legally is correct or not correct. I used to hesitate whether my language is correct or not, pronunciation is correct or not. But ultimately, the many of our seniors at that time, associate at that time, told you have to work hard. Nobody, if you are able to, in fact, make your point to the court clear, nobody will bother whether you are making a spelling mistake or proper pronunciation of law or proper pronunciation of English, etc. or not. Nobody will bother even if you are one or two sentences you are not properly using the pronunciation word extra. So then I decided that I will try to work hard. In fact, perchance, luckily, I got the association of such persons in my life that encourages me that I can reach where I have reached today. Nobody expected, I never expected in my life I can reach to a position where I am today, Advocate General of a state virtually. So at initial stages, after some time, I was asked to join as a additional Advocate General or something of the sort. I was elected. I decided I will not, in fact, do any job virtually. I will do my remain independent profession extra. But ultimately, with the passage of time, you work hard, you get opportunities. There is no alternative to work hard. Despite the fact you may be having many weaknesses in your life, but if you are consistent, you are honest, and you work hard for a particular goal, you are in a position to reach that goal. I will advise all my youngers. When I joined the bar, there were only in fact, 200 to 300, 400 lawyers. And initially, I found when I started, I joined the bar, I was meeting one or two friends. They told me the profession is already overcrowded. You are a first timer. How you will survive in the profession? Then I decided, I told them that no, I have done law. I have did my graduation in law. There is no other alternative. I cannot leave the profession and join some other profession or join job. So I still at that time when I was told that the profession is overcrowded, if a person who's to start a career in the High Court today, the person may face a difficulty at the initial stages. But if somebody says the profession is overcrowded, the opportunities are also multiplied many times. Despite the fact that many of the acts were repealed, still the litigation is multiplied in courts. When initially in 70s, 71 to preemption was repealed in Punjab, custom was repealed in Punjab. Lot of civil litigation was with respect to those aspects in civil courts. And everybody was talking, once these acts goes, there will be no litigation. But still we found that the litigation continued. Similarly, many other acts were passed, many other opportunities have come. And despite the fact, in fact, if number of persons in profession has increased, opportunities have also increased. In our time when we could not get admission in LLB after doing our graduation, we started doing MA, and then we did my LLB. Nobody was aware of that. If you have been declined admission and other person with one less marks has been granted admission, the courts are open to you. We were not aware of such rights. No awareness is among much more even in illiterate peoples than the literate peoples. The litigation we have also seen multiplied now during COVID time when we are confined in our houses. Still litigations are there in courts, virtual courts where the courts have been stopped even working. Still we are daily finding one or the other petition filing despite all restraints by the courts not to entertain petitions in this period. Still the petitions are being filed, and latest technology changes are there. Multiplied different enactments has also given rise to different litigations also. Many tribunals are being created to in fact reduce the litigation in court. Still the number of litigations remain the same. So there are much more chances. If you are determined to join the profession, you have unlimited chances. If you have to join any other business, you will face difficulties in 2-3 years in initial career. Similar are the difficulties there in our initial career in our profession also, but unlimited opportunities in our profession. Only work hard. According to me, the work hard is the only thing which will be required. There will be no substitute to work hard. If we try to find out the shortcuts, then in fact fall also we will be very shortcut. Otherwise, there is unlimited opportunities in our profession, and young lawyers must come to the profession. Particularly the national law students must come to the profession. Lot of opportunities are there. Procedure with respect to practice is also changed. We used to get journals. Now by the evening we get what the Supreme Court has held or what any other particular High Court held. The changes has come. So the lot of, in fact, opportunities have also increased. It is going to increase. Nature of litigation may change. We will find out the way for early decisions also. But the only thing is the confidence of the people is required to be maintained in our justice delivery system. It is one of the best system in the world virtually. Despite all drawbacks, despite delay, despite all those things, our system, judicial system, justice delivery system is one of the best system in the world. I have tried to see it a number of times, compare it with other justice delivery systems also. But it is one of the best. Delays are there, other difficulties are there. But there is no system where there are difficulties are not there. All these difficulties with the passage of time can be taken care of, will be taken care of by all of us. We are in fact the persons who have to take care of all these things. With these words, virtually, I thanks virtually beyond last all of the participants. Many of the seniors are also there looking into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We couldn't have a more enriching session. The sum and substance of your entire word of how the journey as a lawyer has to go, I can say in two quotes. What you have said on the Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. Once you yourself is a role model that you are the fittest and you have survived. Number two is survival of the fittest, and then nothing succeeds like success. You are a successful model. And third, in the evening, we will be having a session by Mr. Vikram Chaudhary, senior advocate. He will show us what are the avenues under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The persons can join, the participants can join for that session. Those who want to connect with us, they can connect us on the WhatsApp, Facebook, and the Instagram. And Harneet Roy would give a formal vote of thanks. पर अभी जाने से पहले वो मन में गाना आ रहा है, आज जाने की जिद ना करो, दिल अभी भरा नहीं. Harneet?
हाँ जी.
Harneet Roy.
Thank you.
Yes, Harneet.
Sir, a very thank you. First of all, a very good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
I must say, a specific relief act explained very specifically. Thanks a lot. Really, we, a group of lawyers who are together making an effort just to learn from mentors like you. And once again, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for explaining each and everything very specifically. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for supporting us.